The 10th word. Resurrection and the hereafter. Note: the reasons for my writing these treatises in the form of metaphors, comparisons, and stories are to facilitate comprehension and to show how rational, appropriate, well-founded, and coherent are the truths of Islam. The meaning of the stories is contained in the truths that conclude them. Each story is like an allusion pointing to its concluding truth. Therefore, they are not mere fictitious tales, but veritable truths. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. Look then to the signs of God's mercy, how He restores life to the earth after its death. Verily, it is who quickens the dead, for He is powerful over all things. Brother, if you wish for a discussion of resurrection and the hereafter in simple and common language in a straightforward style, then listen to the following comparison together with my own soul. Once, two men were traveling through a land as beautiful as paradise. By that land, we intend the world. Looking around them, they saw that everyone had left open the door of his home and his shop, and was not paying attention to guarding it. Money and property were readily accessible without anyone to claim them. One of the two travelers grasped hold of all that he fancied, stealing it and usurping it. Following his inclinations, he committed every kind of injustice and abomination. None of the people of that land moved to stop him, but his friend said to him, "What are you doing? You will be punished, and I will be dragged into misfortune along with you. All this property belongs to the state. The people of this land, including even the children, are all soldiers or government servants. It is because they are at present civilians that they are not interfering with you. But the laws here are strict. The king has installed telephones everywhere, and his agents are everywhere. Go quickly and try to settle the matter." But the empty-headed man said in his obstinacy, "No, it is not state property. It belongs instead to some endowment and has no clear or obvious owner. Everyone can make use of it as he sees fit. I see no reason to deny myself the use of these fine things. I will not believe they belong to anyone unless I see him with my own eyes." He continued to speak in this way with much philosophical sophistry, and an earnest discussion took place between them. First, the empty-headed man said, "Who is the king here? I can't see him." And then his friend replied, "Every village must have its headman. Every needle must have its manufacturer and craftsman. And as you know, every letter must be written by someone. How then can it be that so extremely well-ordered a kingdom should have no ruler? And how can so much wealth have no owner, when every hour a train arrives filled with precious and artful gifts, as if coming from the realm of the unseen?" Note: indicates the cycle of a year. Indeed, every spring is a carload of provisions coming from the realm of the unseen. And all the announcements and proclamations, all the seals and stamps found on all those goods, all the coins and the flags waving in every corner of the kingdom, can they be without an owner? It seems you have studied foreign languages a little and are unable to read this Islamic script. In addition, you refuse to ask those who are able to read it. Come now, let me read to you the king's supreme decree." The empty-headed man then retorted, "Well, let us suppose there is a king. What harm can he suffer from the minute use I am making of all his wealth? Will his treasury decrease on account of it? In any event, I can see nothing here resembling prison or punishment." His friend replied, "This land that you see is a maneuvering ground. It is, in addition, an exhibition of his wonderful royal arts. Then, again, it may be regarded as a temporary hospice, one devoid of foundations. Do you not see that every day one caravan arrives as another departs and vanishes? It is being constantly emptied and filled. Soon the whole land will be changed. Its inhabitants will depart for another and more lasting realm. There, everyone will be either rewarded or punished in accordance with his services. That treacherous, empty-headed one retorted rebelliously, "I don't believe it. Is it at all possible that a whole land should perish and be transferred to another realm?" His faithful friend then replied, "Since you are so obstinate and rebellious, come, let me demonstrate to you with 12 out of the innumerable proofs available that there is a supreme tribunal, a realm of reward and generosity, and a realm of punishment and incarceration, and that, just as this world is partially emptied every day, so too a day shall come when it will be totally emptied and destroyed." First aspect. Is it at all possible that in any kingdom, and particularly so splendid a kingdom as this, there should be no reward for those who serve obediently, and no punishment for those who rebel? Reward and punishment are virtually non-existent here. There must therefore be a supreme tribunal somewhere else. Second aspect. Look at the organization and administration of this kingdom. See how everyone, including the poorest and the weakest, is provided with perfect and ornate sustenance. The best care is taken of the sick. Royal and delicious foods, dishes, jewel-encrusted decorations, embroidered garments, splendid feasts, all are to be found here. See how everyone pays due attention to his duties, with the exception of empty-headed people such as yourself. No one transgresses his bonds by as much as an inch. The greatest of all men is engaged in modest and obedient service, with an attitude of fear and awe. The ruler of this kingdom must possess, then, great generosity and all-embracing compassion, as well as, at the same time, great dignity, exalted awesomeness, and honor. Now, generosity requires liberality, compassion cannot dispense with beneficence, and awesomeness and honor make it imperative that the discourteous be chastised. But not even a thousandth part of what that generosity and awesomeness require is to be seen in this realm. The oppressor retains his power and the oppressed his humiliation as they both depart and migrate from this realm. Their affairs are, then, left to the same supreme tribunal of which we speak. Third aspect. See with what lofty wisdom and ordering affairs are managed, and with what true justice and balanced transactions are effected. Now, a wise polity requires that those who seek refuge under the protecting wing of the state should receive favor, and justice demands that the rights of subjects be preserved, so that the splendor of the state should not suffer. But here, in this land, not a thousandth part of the requirements of such wisdom and justice is fulfilled. For example, empty-headed people such as yourself usually leave this realm unpunished. So, again we say, matters are postponed for the consideration of a supreme tribunal. Fourth aspect. Look at these innumerable and peerless jewels that are displayed here, these unparalleled dishes laid out like a banquet. They demonstrate that the ruler of these lands is possessed of infinite generosity and an inexhaustible treasury. Now, such generosity and such a treasury deserve and require a bounteous display that should be eternal and include all possible objects of desire. They further require that all who come as guests to partake of that display should be there eternally and not suffer the pain of death and separation. For just as the cessation of pain is pleasurable, so too is the cessation of pleasure painful. Look at these displays and the announcements concerning them, and listen to these heralds proclaiming the fine and delicate arts of a miracle-working monarch and demonstrating his perfections. They are declaring his peerless and invisible beauty and speaking of the subtle manifestations of his hidden beauteousness. He must be possessed, then, of a great and astounding invisible beauty and perfection. This flawless, hidden perfection requires one who will appreciate and admire it, who will gaze on it exclaiming, MashaAllah, thus displaying it and making it known. As for concealed and peerless beauty, it too requires to see and be seen, or rather to behold itself in two ways. The first consists of contemplating itself in different mirrors, and the second of contemplating itself by means of the contemplation of enraptured spectators and astounded admirers. Hidden beauty wishes, then, to see and be seen, to contemplate itself eternally and be contemplated without cease. It desires also permanent existence for those who gaze upon it in awe and rapture. For eternal beauty can never be content with a transcendent admirer. Moreover, an admirer destined to perish without hope of return will find his love turning to enmity whenever he imagines his death, and his admiration and respect will yield to contempt. It is in man's nature to hate the unknown and the unaccustomed. Now, everyone leaves the hospice of this realm very quickly and vanishes, having seen only a light or a shadow of the perfection and beauty for no more than a moment, without in any way being satiated. Hence, it is necessary that he should go towards an eternal realm, where he will contemplate the divine beauty and perfection. Fifth aspect. See, it is evident from all these matters that peerless being is possessed of most great mercy. For he causes aid to be swiftly extended to every victim of misfortune, answers every question and petition, and mercifully fulfills even the lowliest need of his lowliest subject. If, for example, the foot of some herdsman's sheep should hurt, he either provides some medicine or sends a veterinarian. Come now, let us go. There is a great meeting on that island. All the nobles of the land are assembled there. See, a most noble commander, bearing exalted decorations, is pronouncing a discourse and requesting certain things from that compassionate monarch. All those present say, yes, we too desire the same, and affirm and assent to his words. Now listen to the words of that commander favored by his monarch. O monarch that nurtures us with his bounty, show us the source and origin of these examples and shadows you have shown us. Draw us nigh to your seat of rule. Do not let us perish in these deserts. Take us into your presence and have mercy on us. Feed us there on the delicious bounty you have caused us to taste here. Do not torment us with desperation and banishment. Do not leave your yearning, thankful, and obedient subjects to their own devices. Do not cause them to be annihilated. Do you not hear him thus supplicating? Is that all possible that so merciful and powerful a monarch should not totally fulfill the finest and highest aim of his most beloved and noble commander? Moreover, the purpose of that commander is the purpose of all men, and its fulfillment is required by the pleasure, the compassion, and the justice of the king, and it is a matter of ease for him, not difficulty, causing him less difficulty than the transcendent places of enjoyment contained in the hospitals of the world. Having spent so much effort on these places of witnessing that will last only 5 or 6 days, and on the foundation of this kingdom, in order to demonstrate instances of his power, he will, without doubt, display at his seat of rule true treasures, perfections, and skills in such a manner, and open before us such spectacles, that our intellects will be astonished. Those sent to these fields of trial will not, then be left to their own devices, palaces of bliss or dungeons await them. Sixth aspect. Come now, look. All these imposing railways, planes, machines, warehouses, exhibitions show that behind the veil an imposing monarch exists and governs. Note: when a vast army in the present age receives the order, take up your weapons and fix your bayonets, in accordance with the rules of war, while on maneuver, it comes to resemble a forest of upright oaks. Similarly, when the soldiers of a garrison are commanded on festive days to don their parade uniforms and pin on their medals, it will resemble from one end to the other a colorful and ornate garden where all the flowers have blossomed. Conversely, when on the parade ground of the world, the various and infinite species of the soldiery of the eternal monarch, angels, jinn, men, animals, and even unfeeling plants, receive the order of be, and it is in the struggle for life's preservation and the command, take up your weapons and equipment and prepare to defend yourselves. When they fix the minute bayonets that are the spiked trees and plants found throughout the world, then they resemble a magnificent army advancing with bayonets fixed. Similarly, each day and each week of the spring is like a festival for each class of the vegetable kingdom, and each class presents itself to the witnessing gaze of the eternal monarch with the jeweled decorations he has given them, as if it were on parade in order to display the fine gifts he has bestowed on them. It is as if all the plants and trees were heeding a dominical command, don the bejeweled garments produced by God's artistry, put on the decorations made by his creative power, flowers and fruit. The face of the earth then comes to represent a parade ground on a splendid festive day, a magnificent parade brilliant with the uniforms and jeweled decorations of the soldiers. Such wise and well-ordered arrangement and ornament demonstrates of a certainty to all who are not blind that they derive from the command of a monarch infinite in power and unlimited in wisdom. Such a monarch requires subjects worthy of himself. But now you see all his subjects gathered in a hospice for wayfarers, a hospice that is filled and emptied each day. It can also be said that his subjects are now gathered in a testing ground for the sake of maneuvers, and this ground also changes each hour. Again, we may say that all his subjects stay in an exhibition hall for a few minutes to behold specimens of the monarch's beneficence, valuable products of his miraculous art. But the exhibition itself changes each moment. Now, this situation and circumstance conclusively shows that beyond the hospice, the testing ground, the exhibition, there are permanent palaces, lasting abodes, and gardens, and treasuries full of the pure and elevated originals of the samples and shapes we see in this world. It is for the sake of this that we exert ourselves here. Here we labor, and there we receive our reward. A form and degree of felicity suited to everyone's capacity awaits us there. Seventh aspect. Come, let us walk a little and see what is to be found among these civilized people. See, in every place, at every corner, photographers are sitting and taking pictures. Look, everywhere there are scribes sitting and writing things down. Everything is being recorded. They are registering the least significant of deeds, the most commonplace of events. Now look up at the tall mountain. There you see a supreme photographer installed, devoted to the service of the king. He is taking pictures of all that happens in the area. Note: some of the truths indicated in this parable have been set forth in the seventh truth. However, let us point out here that the figure of the supreme photographer devoted to the service of the king is an indication of the preserved tablet. The reality an existence of the preserved tablet has been proved in the 26th word as follows. A little portfolio suggests the existence of a great ledger, a little document points to the existence of a great register, and little drops point to the existence of a great water tank. So too, the retentive faculties of man, the fruits of trees, the seeds and kernels of fruit, being each like a little portfolio, a preserved tablet in miniature, or a drop proceeding from the pen that inscribes the great preserved tablet, they point to, indicate, and prove the existence of a supreme retentive faculty, a great register, an exalted preserved tablet. Indeed, they demonstrate this visibly to the perceptive intellect. The king must, then, have issued this order, record all the transactions made and deeds performed in the kingdom. In other words, that exalted personage is having all events registered and photographically recorded. The precise record he is keeping must without doubt be for the sake of one day calling his subjects to account. Now, is it at all possible that an all-wise and all-preserving being, who does not neglect the most banal doings of the lowest of his subjects, should not record the most significant deeds of the greatest among his subjects, should not call them to account, should not reward and punish them? After all, it is those foremost among his subjects that perform deeds offensive to his glory, contrary to his pride, and unacceptable to his compassion, and those deeds remain unpunished in this world. It must be, therefore, that their judgment is postponed to a supreme court.